In case you don't have enough to worry about, I want to talk about AI hackers. Artificial intelligence will hack humanity unlike anything that's come before it. AIs will find vulnerabilities in all sorts of social, economic, and political systems and exploit them at an unprecedented speed, scale, and scope. This isn't just a difference in degree, it's a difference in kind. It'll culminate in AI systems hacking other AI systems, with humans being little more than collateral damage. Okay, maybe this is a bit of hyperbole, but none of it requires far future science fiction technology. I'm not postulating any singularity. I'm not assuming intelligent androids. I'm not even assuming evil intent on the part of anyone. Most of the hacks I will discuss don't even require major research breakthroughs in AI. They'll improve as AI gets more sophisticated, but we can see the hints of them in operation today. This hacking will come naturally as AIs become more advanced at learning, understanding, and problem solving. First, let's generalize the term hacking. Think about the tax code. It's not computer code, but it is code. It's a series of algorithms with inputs and outputs. Those are the tax rules. It has vulnerabilities. We call them tax loopholes. It has exploits. We call them tax avoidance strategies. And there's an entire industry of black hat hackers looking for exploitable vulnerabilities in the tax code. We call them tax accountants and tax attorneys. So a hack, here's a definition: something that a system permits but is unanticipated and unwanted by the designers. Here's another one: a clever, unintended exploitation of a system which, one, subverts the rules of the system, two, at the expense of some other part of the system. But this is a subjective term. It encompasses a notion of novelty and cleverness. It's a subversion or an exploitation. It's unintended and unanticipated. Hacks follow the rules of a system, but subvert its goal or intent. Now, all systems of rules can be hacked. You can find hacks in professional sports, in consumer reward programs, in financial systems, in politics, in lots of economic, political, and social systems against our cognitive functions. A curved hockey stick is a hack, and we know the name of the hacker who invented it. Mileage runs in frequent flyer programs are a hack. The filibuster was originally a hack back in Roman times when it was invented. Hedge funds are full of hacks. A system is just a set of rules, or they could be norms, right? The rules aren't always formal. And even the best thought out sets of rules will be incomplete or inconsistent. It'll have ambiguities and things the designers haven't thought of. And as long as there are people who want to subvert the goals of a system, there will be hacks. And AIs are becoming hackers. In 2016, DARPA held an AI Capture the Flag event. You know this game. It's a staple at hacker conferences around the world. 100 AI teams competed. 7 finalists faced off at DEF CON 2016. And for 10 hours, the AIs were on a network attacking other computers' teams and defending their own. And an AI called Mayhem won. AIs are also finding vulnerabilities in software. It's ongoing research and it's pretty promising. And if you think about it, it's the sort of thing an AI would be good at. It's pattern matching. It's looking through millions of lines of code and trying to find vulnerabilities. Now, the implications of this go far beyond computer networks. Vulnerabilities in the tax code, vulnerabilities in the financial regulations, vulnerabilities in all sorts of social, economic, and political systems. And there are really 2 different issues here. The first is that an AI might be instructed to hack one of those systems, and someone might feed an AI the world's tax codes or the world's financial regulations with the intent of it having it create a slew of profitable hacks. And the other is that an AI might naturally, albeit inadvertently, hack a system. Both are dangerous, but the second is more dangerous because we might never know it happened. And that's because of the explainability problem. In The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, a race of hyper-intelligent, pan-dimensional beings build the universe's most powerful computer, Deep Thought, to answer the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything. The answer was 42. And Deep Thought was unable to explain its answer or even what the question was. That is the explainability problem. Modern AIs are essentially black boxes. Data goes in one end and the answer comes out the other. And it can be impossible to understand how a system reached its conclusion, even if you are a programmer and look at the code. And AIs don't solve problems like humans do. Their limitations are different than ours. They'll consider more possible solutions than we might. More importantly, they'll look at more types of solutions. They'll go down paths that we simply have not considered, paths more complex than the sorts of things humans generally keep in mind. 2016, the AI program AlphaGo won a 5-game match against one of the world's best Go players. This actually shocked both the AI and the Go playing worlds. AI's most famous move was Move 37 in Game 2. And it's hard to explain without diving deep into Go strategy, but it was a move that no human would have ever chosen to make. 2015, a research group fed an AI system medical data from about 700,000 people and tested whether or not it could predict diseases. The result was a success, but Deep Patient provides no explanation for its diagnosis, and the researchers have no idea how it reaches its conclusions. So a doctor can either trust or ignore the computer, but can't query it for more info. Now, researchers are working on explainable AI. And while there are advances in this field, there seems to be a trade-off between capability and explainability. Explanations are actually a cognitive shorthand used by humans, suited for the way humans make decisions. Forcing an AI to produce a human understandable explanation is an additional constraint, and it could affect the quality of its decisions. And certainly in the near term, AI is becoming more opaque and less explainable. So now let's talk about reward hacking. Again, AIs don't solve problems the way people do. They will invariably stumble on solutions that we humans might have never anticipated, and some of them will subvert the intent of the system. And that's because AIs don't think in the terms of the implications, context, norms, and values that we humans share and take for granted. This is reward hacking. It involves achieving a goal, but in a way the AI designers neither wanted nor intended. And the examples are pretty great. There's a soccer simulation where an AI figured out that if it kicked a ball out of bounds, the goalie would have to throw the ball back in and leave the goal undefended. There's a stacking simulation where an AI learned to flip a block upside down rather than stack it. There's an evolution simulation where an AI figured out that instead of running, it could grow itself tall enough to cross a distant finish line by falling over it. These are all hacks. You can blame them on poorly specified goals or rewards, and you would be correct. You can point out that they all occurred in simulated environments, and you would also be correct. But here's the problem. AIs will inadvertently hack systems in ways we won't expect all the time. There's a story of a researcher trying to teach a robot vacuum cleaner not to bump into things. And instead of learning not to bump into things, it learned to drive backwards because there are no sensors back there. Any good AI system will naturally find hacks. If there are problems, inconsistencies, and loopholes in the rules, and if those properties lead to an acceptable solution as defined by the rules, then AIs will find them. You might look at what the AI did and say, well, technically it followed the rules, yet we humans would know it's a deviation, a cheat, a hack, because we understand context and have different expectations. So we all learned about this problem as children with the King Midas story. After the god Dionysus grants him a wish, Midas asks that everything he touches turn to gold. And Midas ends up starving and miserable when his food, drink, and daughter all turn to gold. It's a specification problem. Midas programmed the wrong goal into the system. We also know that genies are very precise about the wording of wishes and can be maliciously pedantic when granting them. But here's the thing. There's no way to outsmart the genie. Whatever you wish for, he will always be able to grant it in a way that you wish he hadn't. The genie will always be able to hack your wish. The general problem is that in human language and thought, goals and desires are always underspecified. We never describe all the options. We never include all the caveats and exceptions and provisos. We never close off all the avenues for hacking. We can't. Any goal we specify will necessarily be incomplete. And this is largely okay in human interactions because people understand context and usually act in good faith. We are all socialized, and in the process of becoming so, we acquire common sense about how people and the world works. We fill in any gaps in our understanding with that context. So if I asked you to get me some coffee You would probably go to the nearest coffee pot and pour me a cup, or maybe walk to the corner coffee shop and buy one. You would not bring me a pound of raw beans. You would not buy a coffee plantation. You would also not look for the closest person holding a cup of coffee and rip it out of their hands. You wouldn't bring me week old cold coffee or a used paper towel that had wiped up a coffee spill. I wouldn't have to specify any of that. You would just know. Similarly, if I asked you to develop a technology that would turn things into gold on touch, you wouldn't build it so that it starved the person using it. I wouldn't have to specify that. You would just know. We can't completely specify goals to an AI, and AIs won't be able to completely understand context. 2015, Volkswagen was caught cheating on emission control tests. This Volkswagen story doesn't involve AI. Human engineers programmed a regular computer to cheat, but it illustrates the problem. They programmed their engine to detect emission control testing and to behave differently when being tested to pass those tests. And their cheat remained undetected for years because it's hard to figure out what software is doing. Now, if I asked you to design a car's engine control software to maximize performance while still passing emission control tests, you wouldn't design that software to cheat without understanding that you were cheating. This simply isn't true for an AI. It will think out of the box because it won't have a conception of the box. It won't understand that the Volkswagen solution harms others, that it undermines the intent of emission control laws, or that it's breaking the law. Unless the programmers specify the goal of not behaving differently when being tested, an AI might inadvertently come up with the same hack. The programmers will be satisfied, the accountants will be ecstatic, and because of the explainability problem, no one will realize what the AI did. And yes, now that we know the Volkswagen story, we can explicitly set the goal to avoid that particular hack. But there are other hacks the programmers will not anticipate. The lesson of the genie is that there will always be hacks the programmers will not anticipate. But the worry isn't limited to the obvious hacks. We'll see them. The greatest worry lies in the hacks that are subtle, like the Volkswagen hack. We're already seeing the first generation of this. Much has been written about recommendation engines and how they push people towards extreme content. They weren't programmed to do this. It's a property that naturally emerged. The algorithms learned to push extreme content because that's what people respond to. And this is important. It didn't take a bad actor to create this hack. A pretty basic automated system found it on its own. Now, nothing I'm saying here will be news to AI researchers. And there are many people currently working on ways to defend against goal and reward hacking, right? One solution is to teach the AI's context. General term for this sort of research is value alignment. How can we create AIs that mirror our values? And you can think about solutions in terms of two extremes. The first is to explicitly specify those values, and the other is to create AIs that learn our values, possibly by observing humans in action. So how realistic is anything I've said so far? The answer is, it depends. The feasibility of any AI hacking depends on the specific system being modeled. For an AI to even start on optimizing a problem, let alone hacking a completely novel solution, all the rules of the environment must be formalized in a way the computer can understand. Goals in AI that are called objective functions need to be established, and the AI needs some sort of feedback on how well it's doing so it can improve its performance. Sometimes this is a trivial matter. Like for a game like Go, it's easy. The rules, objective, and feedback, did you win or lose, are all precisely specified. And there's nothing outside of those things to muddy the waters. This is why most of the current examples of goal and reward hacking come from simulated environments. These are artificial and constrained with all the rules specified to the AI. What matters is the ambiguity in a system. We can imagine feeding the world's tax laws into an AI because the tax code consists of formulas. But ambiguity still exists in some of those laws. That ambiguity is difficult to translate into code, which means that an AI will have trouble dealing with it. Most human systems are even more ambiguous. It's hard to imagine an AI coming up with a real-world sports hack, like curving a hockey stick. An AI would have to understand not just the rules of the game, but the physiology of the players, the aerodynamics of the stick and the puck and on. And this ambiguity ends up being a near-term security defense against AI hacking. It'll be a long time before AIs will be capable of modeling and simulating the ways that people work, and before they are capable of coming up with novel ways to hack legislative processes. We won't have AI-generated sports hacks until androids actually play the sports, or maybe until a generalized AI appears. Probably the first place to look for AI hacking is in financial systems, since those rules are designed to be algorithmically tractable. We can imagine equipping an AI with all the world's financial laws, plus all the world's news and financial information, and then giving it the goal of maximize profit. My guess is that this isn't very far off, and that the result will be all sorts of novel hacks. But here's the thing about AI. Advances are discontinuous and counterintuitive. Things that seem to be easy turn out to be hard, and things that seem to be hard turn out to be easy. And we don't know until a breakthrough occurs. When I was a college student in the early 80s, we learned that the game of Go would never be mastered by a computer because of its enormous complexity. Not the rules, but the number of moves. And now a computer has beaten a human world champion. Some of it was due to advances in the science of AI, but most of the improvement was just by throwing more computing power at the problem. So while a world filled with AI hackers is still science fiction, it's not stupid science fiction. And we had better start thinking about its implications. Hacking is as old as humanity. We are creative problem solvers. We are loophole exploiters. We manipulate systems to serve our interest. We strive for more influence, more power, more wealth. And hacking has forever been a part of that. Still, no humans maximize their own interests without constraint. Even sociopaths are constrained by the complexity of society and their own contradictory impulses. They're concerned about their reputation or punishment. They have limited time. And these very human qualities limit hacking. Hacking changed when everything became computerized. Because of their formalism and complexity, computers are uniquely hackable. And today, everything is a computer. Cars, appliances, phones, they're all computers. All our social systems, taxation, finance, elections, are complex socio-technical systems involving computers. To date, hacking has exclusively been a human activity. Searching for new hacks requires expertise, creativity, time, and luck. But when AI start hacking, everything will change again. They won't be constrained in the same ways or have the same limits as people. They'll think like aliens. And they'll change hacking's speed, scale, and scope. Speed is easy. Computers are much faster than people. A human creative process that might take months or years could get compressed to days, hours, or even seconds. Or what might happen when you feed an AI the entire US tax code? Or in the case of a multinational corporation, the entire world's tax codes? Will it figure out, without being told, that it's smart to incorporate in Delaware and register a ship in Panama? How many loopholes will it find that we don't already know about? Dozens? Hundreds? Thousands? We have no idea. And it's not just speed, but scale as well. Once AI systems start discovering hacks, they'll be able to exploit them at a scale we're not ready for. We're already seeing shadows of this with AI-generated text. Soon, AI text generation bots will be replicated in the millions across social media. They'll be able to engage on the issues around the clock, posting billions of messages. They will overwhelm any actual online discussions. What we see as boisterous political debate will be bots arguing with other bots. They'll artificially influence what we think is normal and what we think others think. The increasing scope of AI systems also makes hacks more dangerous. AIs are already making important decisions that affect our lives, decisions that we used to believe were the exclusive purview of humans. AIs make bail and parole decisions. They help decide who receives bank loans. They screen job candidates, applicants for college, and people who apply for government services. As AI systems get more capable, society will cede more and more important decisions to them. This means that hacks of those systems will become more damaging. And these hacks will be perpetrated by the powerful against us. And while we have societal systems that deal with hacks, they were developed when hackers were human and reflect the pace of human hackers. We don't have any system of governance that can deal with hundreds, let alone thousands, of newly discovered tax loopholes. We won't be able to recover from an AI figuring out unanticipated but legal hacks of financial systems. At computer speed, scale, and scope, hacking becomes a problem that we as society can no longer manage. All right, finally, let's talk about defense. When AIs are able to discover new software vulnerabilities in computer code, it will be an incredible boon to hackers everywhere. They'll be able to use those vulnerabilities to hack networks around the world. It will put us all at risk. But that same technology will be useful for the defense as well. But imagine how a software company might deploy a vulnerability finding AI on its own code. It could identify and then patch all, or at least all of the automatically discoverable vulnerabilities in its products before releasing them. The feature might even be built into the software development tools and happen automatically. We can imagine a future where software vulnerabilities are a thing of the past. Of course, the transition period will be dangerous. New code might be secure, but legacy code will still be vulnerable. There, the attackers have an advantage. But over the long run, an AI technology that finds software vulnerabilities favors the defense. It's the same when we turn to hacking broader social systems. Sure, AI hackers might find hundreds of vulnerabilities in the existing tax code, but that same technology can be used to evaluate any potential vulnerabilities in a new tax law, a tax ruling. And imagine a new tax law being tested this way. Someone, it could be a legislator, a watchdog group, the press, could take the text of a bill and find all the exploitable vulnerabilities. This doesn't mean that tax loopholes will get fixed, but it does mean they'll become public and part of the policy debate. And they can, in theory, be patched before the rich and powerful exploit them. Here, too, the transition period will be dangerous, but while AI hackers can be employed by both the offense and the defense, in the end, the defense will prevail. Ensuring that the defense prevails also requires building resilient governing structures that can quickly and effectively respond to hacks. It won't do any good if it takes years to update the tax code, or if a legislative hack becomes so entrenched that it can't politically be patched. Modern software is continually patched. You know how often you update your computers and phones. We need society's rules and laws to be similarly patchable. This is a hard problem of modern governance and well beyond the scope of this talk. It also isn't a substantially different problem than building governing structures that can operate at the speed and complexity of the information age. The overarching solution here is people. What I've been describing is the interplay between humans and computer systems and the risks inherent when the computers start doing the part of humans. This, too, is a more general problem than AI hackers. And it's also one that technologists and futurists are writing about. And while it's easy to let technology lead us into the future, we're much better off if we as society decide what technology's role in our future should be. This is something we need to figure out now before these AIs come online and start hacking our world. Thank you.